Thank you. If I get emotional during this, I'm the kind of guy that cries at movies. I cry anticipating Toto getting away in The Wizard of Oz. So that's me. If I get choked up, it's empathy for other people. I don't get choked up for myself, but I'll get choked up for other people. So, my Uncle Bob was born around 1930. He was maybe 7 years or so younger than my mom. And he got polio at age 7. And so if you've seen the documentaries about FDR and what he went through, it was about that same time that my uncle got polio. And I remember him, in a wheelchair when I was a very young age, and wearing the braces that FDR wore and so forth. And so he went through life that way, and he worked at the sanitation department in Billings, Montana, and we would go back there every Christmas and visit them. So that's a special memory. And he was very well respected at his job at the sanitation department there. He was a dispatcher, and he was an office manager and that sort of thing. And so we would see them from time to time. Well, my grandmother passed away, and then my other uncle passed away, and so he was kind of on his own there in Billings after a time. We lived in Minneapolis. And later in his life, he met a gal that became quite special to him. Here I am getting emotional again. And they palled around together. What he really liked to do is drive in his car, because he had one of those cars that was adapted so you could drive it without your legs being involved. So he had all the hand gears, and he just loved to drive around Montana, go up in the passes, go up in the mountains, and visit various places. And she'd go along with him. And his name was Bob, and she was Bobby, B-O-B-B-I. And they would just pal around together, and they'd tell stories about, like, one time he got stuck. And so it's Bobby that's out pushing the car to get them unstuck. And she was handy with tools and whatnot, and she'd fix things up around his house, and they got to be very close friends. He helped her out some financially. She wasn't as well-to-do as he was. And so they became quite close, and he ended up even putting her in his will, leaving everything to her. And you know what happens sometimes when a younger woman and an older, perhaps vulnerable senior citizen get together? People will start to kind of wonder if that's a predatory relationship. And that did occur here too. He had left all his money to his church there, the Baptist church in Billings, but he changed his will and left it to his friend Bobby. And the executor of the will actually was a church employee as well. And so it was about that time that some of the guys in the church decided to tell him, that his friend Bobby was actually a man. And he didn't realize that. Others of us in the family had realized that when we've had occasion to meet her. And so he was pretty upset by that, and changed his will. And, you can argue that, maybe there was a little bit of predatory behavior. Maybe her intentions weren't always 100% admirable, but I don't know that. I wouldn't claim that. And you could say that maybe she wasn't entirely honest with him, but maybe there's a greater level of honesty in their relationship without knowing that. She was able to be with him as she really wanted to be, without an asterisk by her gender identity. So I think that was pretty special. Now, a couple weeks ago, the theme was what was the theme 2 weeks ago? No, swing and a miss. A decade or two ago, we might have said, swing and a miss, Uncle Bob, when he found out the truth about this woman. Today, we might be more inclined to say swing and a miss about the guys that came and talked to him about Bobby. And, at his funeral, she just sat in the crowd as an anonymous face in the crowd. But I wonder if her loss wasn't greater than anybody else's in the room. Yeah. To have somebody in her life that accepted her as she felt to herself. And so that was pretty special. And I was happy to learn that Bob didn't completely forget about her in his will. He did leave her a nice gift. He kind of came around and I think came to grips with it himself at some point. We, of course, were back here in Minneapolis. We didn't know the whole story. And about the only way I can relate this to our theme today is to say, lucky me in that I live at a time when people finally are beginning to be able to be themselves publicly and be accepted and appreciated and even loved for being who they are. And we've seen those changes, so many changes like that in race relations, women getting the vote, and so many different ways. And now finally, the gay, lesbian, transgender community also beginning to get that respect. And a lot of profound changes in my lifetime. And in that regard, I guess I do feel lucky. Thank you.